Hello and welcome to an episode of the Tooele Happy Hour, where it's happy hour somewhere. I'm Dave Weiss, and here we have
Thomas Wright.
Thomas Wright is running for governor. Now he is a real estate mogul. Is that appropriate to say?
I'm a real estate executive, working on the mogul part.
We'll get there.
Okay.
So, Tom, I want to know all about your perspective on freedom and liberty. So I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Sure.
We'll go as fast as we can here. Let's talk about the alcohol laws in Utah. Where do you stand with that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I believe in constitutional freedom. I believe in liberty. I believe people have the right to make their own decisions. But I also believe in Utah that we have a certain set of values, right? Mm-hmm. So Utahns have decided that they are going to treat alcohol sales, is that what you're talking about? Mm-hmm. In a certain way through state-run liquor stores. And I don't know if you saw the article today where in Washington, they actually went away from state-run liquor stores and went to privatization. And now most citizens that supported going privatization now actually want to undo it. Have you been reading about that? It's a fascinating article. It's a fascinating article. So that's a decision that the citizens of the state should be making through their elected officials in the legislature. That's why we have a republic. You send people to the legislature to represent you, and I'll listen to the will of the people. If the people want to make change to that, and it's what they want, then I'd be happy to support them. If they're happy with the way it is, then we'll be happy to go that way.
All right. So if the bill came to your desk, you have the power to veto it or not, you'd be like, yeah, there it is.
The devil's always in the details of a bill, so it's hard to say whether you'd sign something, but I believe in freedom and liberty, and I want to look at every area of state government we can privatize and consider privatizing it. If it makes sense and we can get it out of the government's domain. Look, I'm not a fan of government. I don't think government does a lot well. But in this particular case, this is the way we've set this particular system up. But I'm always for looking at it and seeing if there's a better way to do it. And if it comes to my desk and that's what the people want, then I'll definitely be listening to them.
Fantastic. I like the answer. What about the marijuana issue in Utah? Right now, everyone's trying to legalize it all over the country, it seems like. Where would you stand on that?
I think Utah has gotten it right with medicinal cannabis. There are people that need it. It has tremendous benefits to the people that need it. And I have talked to parents all over the state and adults that have said, wow, this has really been a blessing in my life. So I think Utah's handled it really well. We found a balance. We figured out what the people wanted, and the legislature acted in a responsible way. And I think we're doing well on marijuana, on the medicinal cannabis. But yeah, so I applaud the state's efforts on that.
Okay, great. Another fine answer. I think that's very liberty-orientated of you to think that way.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a tech guy myself. I grew up in an era where the young people would ask, do you know how to make an email transaction? Do you know how to use email? And that was the generation learning how to use the internet. And some candidates would say yes and some would say no. Now we're living in an age where cryptocurrency is becoming a real established entity in the economy, and it's probably poised to do a lot more than what it's doing right now. Would you be able to say you feel comfortable making a Bitcoin transaction if that's the way the direction went?
Sure, absolutely. But here's the thing about it is we need to make sure that our regulations and our laws in the state don't prohibit innovation. Sometimes the regulations that we passed 20, 30, 40 years ago have the unintended consequence of stifling today's or tomorrow's innovation. And so I believe in that regulatory sandbox concept of saying, hey, if there's a business that wants to come and compete, and they're not breaking the law, and they're not hurting anybody, but there are current regulations that are in place that were never meant to harm their innovation, let's let them innovate and do business while we have a 2-year period to evaluate that innovation. That could have worked with Tesla, could have worked with Uber, it could have worked with a lot of different examples. We don't want to stifle innovation because of a regulation that was never intended to apply to a business model that we never thought would exist.
So are you disappointed in the way that Utah's handled Uber and Lyft?
I would say disappointed probably isn't the right word. I would say let's learn from what happened and make sure that it doesn't happen in the future. We want our economy to innovate. We want new businesses to come here. As long as they're not hurting people, and as long as they're not doing anything wrong, let's give them a regulatory sandbox where they can do business while we review the regulation so that they don't have to wait for the slow process of government to review it in order to do business. Let's just reverse it. Let's give them an ability to conduct business. Let's lead the nation in this.
I have a feeling you'd end up reversing a lot of legislature that went wrong in the past.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the unintended
consequence. I just get that feeling from you.
Yeah,
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm a business-oriented guy. As long as businesses aren't hurting people, there should not be protectionism for current business models because of past regulation. Protectionism is not American. We want people to compete. That's when consumers win. That's how this country was built. So I'm all for that.
Well, Mr. Wright, is there anything you'd like to tell our audience before we end this?
Hey, I'm running for governor because I believe in free market economics. I believe in personal liberty and freedom. I love the Constitution. I'm a pro-life, pro-Second Amendment conservative, and I would love to have your vote for governor.
Well, thank you for joining us on
Thanks.
the Tula Happy Hour. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be with you.
Thank you.
Yep.